If you've played D&D for some time, you've probably realized that when it's time to bunker down for the night, there isn't much to do besides going to bed and pressing that juicy long rest button. To me, it feels a bit flat, like there's something missing. That's why I decided to create a homebrew system that could help with this. Taking some inspiration from a different game called Daggerheart, I wanted players to be able to make choices during downtime, giving players the ability to practice skills or help teach someone else, or spend time crafting items with those tools you often forget you have. Also, a couple of weeks ago, I made a video talking about the issues with the Ranger class. And in that video, one of the issues I mentioned is that Rangers' survival skills often aren't that valuable. So I thought, what better place is there to introduce some survival-based mechanics than when players are camping in the wilderness? So without further ado, let me show you how it works. I wanted Downtime to encourage roleplay, allow for players to develop proficiencies, and highlight some of the skills that don't always get a chance to be useful. To achieve this, I made a really simple system that introduces downtime actions. Each time players take a short or long rest, they will have downtime actions that can be spent to perform certain activities. You have 1 downtime action on short rests and 2 downtime actions on long rests. The types of activities you can perform are all shared between short and long rests, except for one. So let's start with that one. Tend wounds is only relevant during short rests, as this is the downtime action required in order to regain hit points during a short rest. Hit points are still regained by spending hit dice the same way as usual. The cool thing about healing requiring a downtime action is that if the players decide to take a short rest, even the people who don't require healing still get something out of it. How? Well, because they don't have to spend their downtime action on tend wounds and can instead spend that on the other options. So let's go through those. One of the cool things you can do with this system is getting better at certain skills in the game. Eventually, with enough time, becoming proficient in that skill. All you require is some means of practicing that skill, whether that is a set of thieves' tools and some logs to practice, or studying history books to get better at the history skill. I've made a whole list with all of the skills in the game and examples of their requirements and what practicing it looks like. By default, choosing the practice action as a downtime action counts as half a day's practice towards acquiring proficiency in that skill. And in the base version of the system, it takes 30 days of practice to achieve proficiency with a tool, weapon, or skill. At day 10, you get a +1 to rolls using that tool, weapon, or skill, and at day 20, you get another +1. Additionally, another player whose character is proficient in the desired skill can choose practice as their downtime action at the same time to help teach you. Doing so counts as another half a day's practice towards acquiring proficiency in that skill, basically meaning you progress at double speed. With this system, if you spend both your downtime actions on practicing said skill and you have a friend doing so as well, you can technically gain proficiency in 15 days. With a couple of short rests here and there, it can be even faster. I believe this option adds a cool way for player characters to progress throughout their adventures, and it provides some nice prompts for roleplay between the party, like helping someone else learn something you're really good at. However, players might need to take care of a few things first before they get to spend their downtime actions on learning new skills. Whenever players decide to set up camp and take a long rest away from civilization, players have the option to forage for ingredients. In this homebrew system, in order to avoid gaining a point of exhaustion after a long rest, each player needs to consume 1 rations 1 day, which is a regular item in D&D. If players don't already have rations on them, they can forage as their downtime action to gather ingredients that they can then cook and turn into rations. Foraging requires the player to make a wisdom survival or intelligence nature check. The DM determines the DC for the check, however I have made a table with some example DCs depending on the environment. Note that in this case ingredients have a 1-to-1 conversion to rations, so players only need one ingredient to create 1 rations. However, if you're using the table I've made, some environments are extremely difficult to survive in, like the Arctic and desert environments that both have the harsh feature, which reduces ingredients gathered by 1. Meaning that in these harsh environments, if you fail the check, you find 0 ingredients, and even if you succeed, you only find 1, which is just enough to sustain a single person, making these environments extremely hard to survive in without bringing supplies with you. Accompanying the forage downtime actions, players also have the cook downtime action, where using whatever utensils and ingredients at your disposal, you prepare a meal. You convert any amount of ingredients that you or any of your party members have gathered from the foraging into rations. The conversion, like I said, is 1-to-1, meaning if 2 of the party members went out to forage and came back with 3 ingredients, with the cook downtime action, those 3 ingredients can now be turned into 3 rations, enough to sustain all 3 players through the night without gaining a point of exhaustion. One of the major advantages to staying at an inn that provides food for you, if you have the coin, is that you don't have to worry about gathering the food yourself, freeing up those downtime actions to be used on something else. Furthermore, you also have the craft downtime action, allowing you to utilize tools to craft items like a potion of healing with the herbalism kit, provided you have the required materials, that is. And lastly, there's also the attune downtime action available, there to give you the option to attune to any magic items at your disposal. My hope here is that the foraging and cooking mechanics will shine some much needed light on the survival and nature-based classes, as well as giving players more opportunity to progress their characters and spark more roleplay interactions with the rest of the players during downtime. If you're interested in implementing this system into your game, I have a couple of recommendations. First of all, you should definitely have a conversation with your players about it first, as this system is solely there to bring value to the players. Second of all, I recommend taking a look at the practice rules, specifically the amount of time it takes to gain proficiency in a skill, and think about whether that fits with your campaign. For example, if you're running a campaign that stretches across fewer long rests, you might want to shrink it down to maybe 10 days or 15 days. Whereas if you're running a much longer campaign with hundreds of sessions, maybe it fits better if it takes a bit longer to gain proficiency. The same goes for the DCs for foraging. You can decide your own DCs for your own environments if it fits better with your campaign. Lastly, whatever you come up with, I recommend that you share that document with your players, or maybe print out a physical piece of paper, so that the players can see which downtime actions they can take and what they get out of each. It's fine if you want to keep the DCs for your environment secret, but you should be transparent about the time investment when it comes to gaining skill proficiencies and stuff like that. And with that, you should be good to go. My Homebrew Downtime System is available in the description for free. It's a gift from me to you that you can take in whatever direction you'd like. But let me know in the comments if you come up with something cool that you can share with the rest of the community. With that said, I hope you have a great day or night, and may the dice roll in your favor.